Whoop whoop. It's Sober here with another important message. First off, let me say the Phone Booth Chronicles have been put on hold because I was sent home early. Nothing bad happened, it just things didn't work out the way I thought they were going to go. And now my higher power has a better plan for me. That's why I've been absent for a few weeks with all of this stuff going on. With that being said, as of right now, let me start this the right way. Whoop whoop.
I prayed. I don't know what I really prayed. I didn't know a lot about any of that. I was more focusing on the, the personal connection with me. It was just so beautiful, and it was really emotional. My tears were like of joy, of peace. It just felt like this big, huge load had been lifted off of my shoulders, like a weight. And I was real happy. I was crying, but I was crying because I was so happy. I believe there's magic in pyramids, Stonehenge, crop circles, and black-eyed kids. Ghosts, I sing about, tell myself to could attribute it all to my mental health. But I don't want to fear death and I don't want to fear hell. I want to sleep at night, knowing my soul is well. I'm not an atheist. I believe in the magic. This career, I believe God let me have it. I found my messing link and I'm shining. Others still trying, the hill they climbing. I know my soul is content and free. How could I have worry when I hold the key? How could I not see the planets glow? Wildlife grows and rivers flow. Whatever was missing before, it ain't missing now. And it hit me like pow.
Whoever is watching this, I do not know if you are AA, NA, not affiliated anywhere, Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, doing your own damn thing, whatever, however you deal with your recovery, or however you deal with helping other people with their own recovery. The message I have today is something quite personal to me because I've dealt with it for the last month and a half, and it almost tore apart very important relationships in my life. This book here is called The Daily Reflections. This is for April 17th. It's called Love and Fear as Opposites. All these failings generate fear, a soul sickness in its own right. Fear knocked at the door. Faith answered. No one was there. I don't know to whom this quote should be attributed, but it certainly indicates very clearly that fear is an illusion. I create the illusion myself. I experienced fear early in my life, and I mistakenly thought that the mere presence of it made me a coward. I did not know that one of the definitions of courage is the willingness to do the right thing in spite of fear. Courage, then, is not necessarily the absence of fear. During the times I didn't have love in my life, I most assuredly had fear. To fear God is to be afraid of joy. In looking back, I realized that during the times I feared God the most, there was no joy in my life. As I learned not to fear God, I also learned to experience joy. God is a very, very touchy subject for a lot of people, whether it's in recovery or just in life itself, because it's such an unknown thing to us. So let's just leave the God thing away. The power of the universe, the power of community, the power of love. So many of us juggalos, juggalettes, whoever you may be, whether it's just a random person who came across this video. Love is such a powerful thing, and it's so misunderstood. And because it's so easy to misunderstand love, and it's so easy to misjudge love, we become fearful of it. I recently became engaged to a very wonderful woman who has put up with a lot of stuff from me because of what I've been going through. Here's the story. Before I met her, I was a very single man. I lived my life according to what I wanted. I completely disregarded how everybody else felt, how everybody else saw me. I didn't care. I was selfish. I was egotistical. And sometimes I was downright mean. Because I was so full of myself, I thought I was doing the right thing. What ended up happening, because I was in a single man mindset, was I started fighting the relationship. Not her, even though it was directed at her, but I fought the idea of being in a relationship with her and her son. I was afraid of turning into the people that brought me up. I was adopted by my uncle and his wife. They abused me, and they caused a lot of trauma mentally and emotionally for me. A lot of it ends up with me always second guessing myself, not having enough confidence, not knowing if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, not wanting to make a bad impression. And because I always overthink everything and overanalyze everything, I end up making that bad impression that I was afraid of doing. So when certain things happened in my relationship with this woman and her son, it took a little over a month for me to open my eyes and see what I was dealing with. One, I had pushed an active recovery out of my life because I thought I could handle this myself. I got cocky. Don't get cocky, because it will bite you in the ass. And it doesn't matter if you're an addict or not. If you are a human being, we cannot go through life alone. We are here to be with one another, to love one another, to help one another. This woman has opened my eyes, and I am becoming a much better person than I was, thanks to her putting up with my crap. Fear is a horrible thing. I was afraid of messing up. I was afraid I wasn't going to be good enough. I was afraid that I'm not going to provide enough for my family. I was afraid that I was going to help raise that child and hurt that child as I was hurt when I was a child. I was afraid that my priorities weren't straight. I was afraid. I had so much fear, so much anxiety because of that fear, that it controlled my life. And it came down to going online to the 24/7 Zoom AA meeting and asking for help. And a gentleman who I had never met before told me to do a 4th step for what I was going through at that point in my life. Write down my fears, write down my resentments towards myself, write down. And what I realized at that point was when I did my original 4th step years ago, I did not include myself because I was so afraid of opening that door. I was so afraid of looking at myself, figuratively and literally, that I pushed it down so far that it took almost 7 years for it to come back and start having an effect on my life in a huge way. Over the years, it had an effect on my life, but recently it had a huge impact on it. It messed with a few different relationships in my life. And I realized that over the years, it affected all of my relationships. So I've got to go back and do steps 8 and 9 all over again, because for me, that's what my next step is. Do not let fear of the unknown, fear of the what ifs, do not let things like that control you. We are here in this moment. You and me, right here, right now is all that matters. In 5 minutes, that moment is all that matters. Focus on the moment. Appreciate what you have in the moment. If you appreciate and you focus on what you have in the moment, then you will start realizing a change in your life. The what ifs, the lack of control of the future that we have as human beings is what tortures us on a daily basis. So stop, take a deep breath, listen, feel, smell, understand, accept what is going on. Learn to love the moment. That's all your boy Sober has to say today. Whoop whoop, much clown love.